welcome back to Coffee Nick's Movie Picks, a bold blend of coffee and movie review podcasting. My name is Nick Delaney, and I am your show host, coffee and movie reviewer, and the guy who, in light of recent films, is maybe okay being single. Call up the couples counselor because in this episode we will be discussing the new body horror film, Together. For coffee, we'll be going to the Spark Social House in Washington, D.C. Everyone, please take a seat, stay a while, and let's talk movies over some coffee. Hello, everyone. So lovely to see you all. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you to everyone who is listening to Lynchian Picks, which is my series I am currently doing on my Patreon podcast. Right now, we just released the Wild at Heart episode for that this week. And then next week, it's a big week. It's a big week next week. It is Twin Peaks week on Patreon. And did I say it is free to sign up for my Patreon? But if you are a paying member of my Patreon, you get even more next week because there are going to be bonus episodes. I'm going to be reviewing the Twin Peaks pilot episode and Twin Peaks The Return for regular members only. There's going to be little bonus episodes. But any member of the Patreon will have access to the re-review of Firewalk with me. So it's a great time to sign up. It's free. It's really easy. You can add it to your podcast feed, so it just comes up once I upload an episode. It's so easy. And the link is in the show notes to do that. Speaking of the show notes, there will also be a link there for a feedback form. This is something that I'm surprised I've not thought of yet, but I always want, like many companies says, I'm not a company, but they always say this. I always want to hear from you. How can I do better? This podcast, I have the privilege and the pleasure of kind of letting this podcast be whatever I want it to be. I can try all sorts of new things, and I have you all to thank for that. So thank you for letting me try new things all the time. I know I have very lofty goals, and I try them, and I realize they're not for me. That's okay. I just have to try them. But anyways, getting beyond the point. This feedback form, I want to hear from you all what you think of the show, what you like about the show, what you don't like about it, how you interact with the show, all of that good stuff. There will be a question for everything, but hopefully the feedback form will not take you too much time. If you fill it out, thank you so much. I really appreciate the feedback. Although this show is something that I've always said is something that I just do to fulfill like my creative itch, I also want to make sure that this is an enjoyable experience for anyone listening and that I am reaching you all in the best way possible, because after all, I am talking to a wall right now. Literally. So for the invisible human sitting across from me, which is you, I want to make sure you are engaged in the conversation. So thank you for filling that out. I really, really appreciate it. I'm sending you a virtual kiss on the lips. If you'd like that, if you fill it out. If you don't want that, I don't know, give you a high five, whatever you want. But hey, let's get into this. Let's get going here. Our first segment is Now Brewing, and this is our coffee discussion and review. Now Brewing in today's episode is a coffee house review of Spark Social House in Washington, D.C. This is a new place in DC, and this is actually my first time that I have gone there. So I tried a few things, which is why I wanted to do the coffee house review. But right away, I just would like to emphasize how cool, unique, and refreshing I thought that this place was. So Spark Social House, it is attached to Crush. I don't know if the owners are related or I don't know about all that, but it's right next to Crush, right on 14th Street, intersection of 14th Street and U, up there where all the action is happening. So you probably have walked by it before if you are a DC person that likes to go out, hit the clubs and bars and whatnot. but Spark Social House describes themselves as an LGBTQ plus third place designed to connect and uplift our community. How cool is that? How cool is that? I'm all about third spaces, as you all know. It was just in my most recent episode that I was talking about how much in other words, was talking about how much I appreciate coffee houses and movie theaters as third spaces. And I think that the coffee houses and movie theaters that dedicate themselves to being that third space are often the ones that I enjoy the most. So it's really cool that a place is outright saying that they are a third space. And not only are they just a third space, but they are a third space for a community that is so often marginalized. So really cool. I like that this place just really went out there and it's kind of a niche business, like a non-alcoholic bar serving tea and coffee that's dedicated to a specific community. But they did it and it looks great. It's a really great place, as I'll discuss. I really enjoyed sitting here working and trying some of their coffee. So let's get into that. So this place, like I just said, is a non-alcoholic bar. So they do have a lot of mocktails there. They have some tea and coffee, pastries, and some food. So this is a really good place to go and connect with people. So I really like that this place is offering an alternative, especially for people who are sober. This is a great place to go. And the inside of the cafe, the social house, I guess we're calling it, is really, really cute. I liked it. There were nice sofas. There was train booth seating, which is great if you're working from home like me and you want a place that is not your home to work at. And there's a really cute patio and outdoor bar. There's lots of colorful decoration and sunshine on the patio. And I assume a lot of the art on the wall is from DC artists, which all of the art was great. It was very cool. So I like that touch as well. And talking about the community aspect, I went on a Tuesday morning working from home. And, I think if you go anywhere on a Tuesday morning, it is bound to be pretty slow and sleepy. And yeah, it was just me and like a few people coming in and out for the few hours I was there. But even with that being said, the bartenders / baristas were really great at creating a connected environment and like checking in on everyone. And everyone that walked through the door, they acknowledged. Anyone leaving, they acknowledged. The people sitting at the bar, I think that some were friends with the baristas, others were strangers, but they started a conversation with everyone, which was really great. So props to these bartenders. They did a great job fulfilling the mission of this place, which is all about community. So very cool. And creating a third space, getting to know people is very important in a third space. Having that kind of like inquisitive mind, curious mind when it comes to other people. This is just great. This is like a place that I think is so necessary in the current age we're living in, where so much of the third space has been erased because of social media. And a lot of people are getting the interaction they need that they would have been getting at a third space. They're getting that on social media now. Before people would go to like bars or even the movie theater or, I don't know, Tupperware party. What did they have back then? Bowling alleys, I guess. They would go to places, but they would go to places like that, and that would be their third place. And that would be a place where they could connect, where there would be strangers that they didn't know, and where, you kind of had to put yourself out there and start up a conversation. Usually you go to those places with friends, but sometimes you don't. And even if you go with friends, you're still making friends. So I really like that there is a physical, literal space that is not online, that is not virtual, where you can go and connect with people and where you can say for sure, I go in here and someone will try to get to know me, or there will be a nice conversation happening in the background while I'm working. There is connection happening here. Even, I would argue that even like some bars these days, you go out to the bar on a weekend. I would even argue that those third spaces have been affected so much by social media. And, if people go to a bar to like flirt or mingle, or they go to a bar to make friends. Maybe they just moved to the city and they don't have any friends. It is so hard to do that these days. And I feel like people go in their friend groups, they have a good time, and then they go home. And I don't know if there's as much intermingling happening between strangers at bars anymore, at least compared to old times. So, yes, I think that just having a place labeled as a social house is so cool in the year 2025. I am all about it. I am like, I will be a proud representative of this place. I will be the poster child if I may be so honored. So yeah, wow. I haven't even started talking about the coffee, and I'm already getting into all this. I'm swooning. I'm swooning. Okay. You already know how this is all gonna go. I'm gonna love the coffee. I'm gonna give it a nitpick. Blah 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 blah. You know. Let me just go through it so I can say I did it. I got the iced hazelnut oat milk latte. First of all, their coffee menu was very simple in a good way. They had the necessities there, plus the matcha latte for those who like that sort of thing. But I really appreciate that because there were so many other cool things to get, like the non-alcoholic drinks and all that. The hazelnut oat milk latte was great. It was made with love. It wasn't trying to do anything crazy or fancy. This was just a solid drink. And it's exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted. And the fact that it was made with love, that makes it special in a whole bunch of other ways. Not too much syrup, which I really like. The espresso, whatever they used, was good. I don't know what else I can say about this. It was just a nice little latte. And then I also got an Oreo cookie to go with that. And this, when I say Oreo cookie, I don't mean like they just gave me an Oreo. It was kind of like the Oreo was baked into a cookie, like a chocolate chip cookie, the bread of that cookie without the chocolate chips. The Oreo was put into that. It's really hard to describe like a cookie like this, but it was made into a cookie, you know? This was really good. I really liked this. I think out of everything, this was my favorite thing that I had. It was crispy, it was sweet, and I loved the Oreo mixed in. It got to like, I bit into it, and there was that little like patch of the cream, and that was really good. Really liked that part. Loved that. And then I was sitting there for so long, and I was working so hard, making graphic designs and podcast things and YouTube visuals and all this stuff. Too much. And I was like, I think I need another pick me up. I think I need something else. So I also got a cold brew, and it was good. And I realized it was Commonwealth Joe, which I didn't know that this is a DC based brand. But this is also the cold brew that they have at my office at work. So I took a sip and immediately clocked it. And I was like, oh, this is the office coffee. So kind of triggered me a bit, but still good cold brew. Even if it is my office cold brew, it's really good. And I really enjoy it. And it did what it needed to do. All of these things being said, how could you not love this place? How could you not? I have to say, Spark Social House, you charmed me. You charmed me. It was a lovely time, and I will be going back as soon as I have the opportunity to do so. Places like this, I'm like, why not work from home here every time I work from home? You know? I've had so many like negative working from home experiences when I go to a coffee shop. Either the Wi-Fi is slow, or people are talking super loud and I can't work, or this or that or that. This was a pleasant experience, and I will be going back. And also, the day I was there, the barista played the entirety of Miley Cyrus's Bangers on the speakers. I didn't even need to put my AirPods in because they were already playing what I wanted to hear. So props to that bartender / barista. And then they played Addison. So I don't know. Soul connection. I was just really living for it. So Nick pick for Spark Social House. I will be going back, and I highly recommend that you go as well. Our next segment is the coffee thought, and this is an outlet dedicated to voicing my many incoherent thoughts over a cup of coffee. As some of you may know, I mentioned this in a previous episode, maybe even in a previous coffee thought. I broke down. No, you know what? I didn't break down. This was a fully aware, cognizant, and thought out decision. I pre ordered and waited months for a Nintendo Switch 2, and I've been playing it. I've been playing it for almost 3 months now. I got the Mario Kart World bundle. I've been playing that game. I've been playing Donkey Kong Bonanza in the past few days, the past week. And I've also been playing quite a few Nintendo Switch 1 games that have been upgraded for the second system. Regarding this console, there is a lot of conversations happening about it online. And I would like to offer my stance, my perspective on these conversations. Now, for those who have not purchased the console, there is a lot, even for those who have, there are a lot of discussions happening about the price of the console of the games. And I will not be speaking to that today. But I do recognize it is a lot of money in today's world to buy this console and to play these games. I am not a game developer. I am not working in the gaming industry, so I have no idea if these prices are accurate to what actually goes into the game. I don't know if these prices are justified. I can't speak on that. I'm so sorry. But what I can speak on is the other side of this controversy about the system happening. Did you see the graphics for this game? Did you see? Oh my God. The person across from me is butt naked. Oh my God. The person in the window across from me is butt naked. What do I do? What do I do? Oh, I'll draw my blind. I'll draw my blind. I'll be right back, everyone. Okay, we are back. Pardon the interruption. This is part of moving to a new location. Things like this happen, and there's different schedules. You can see into different windows from your bedroom window and everything. And all I can say is it's a good thing this is not a video podcast anymore. Oh, God. Um, it reminds me of Friends a little bit. There was that whole like running joke throughout the series of the naked guy across the way. It was giving very that. I'm just shocked. I mean, this is live theater. This just happens in the moment like this, I guess. And I've completely lost my train of thought for this coffee thought. What do I do? It's just been derailed. It's been derailed by this moment. And I do feel bad. I mean, I don't know. I barely know the people that live in my building yet. How am I to know the people that live across the alleyway that I can see directly straight through my bedroom window? And I feel bad. I do not know this person. And if I somehow knew who lived in that unit, would I say anything? I don't know. But I feel bad. I feel bad because it is embarrassing. Okay. That's what I get for having my blinds wide open at nighttime. What can I say? I love the moonlight. I guess I got I got a little bit too much moonlight tonight, I guess. Oh my gosh. Okay, back to the Nintendo Switch, and I'll make this brief since I've been derailed. But a lot of people say, have you seen the graphics? Have you seen this? Have you seen that? Have you seen the frame rate? And I'm here to create a space, a safe space where I can say, I do not give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I have cared about graphics before. I've cared about graphics. That has made a difference to me. I can think of a Nintendo game I've played where graphics have been an issue. I'm looking at the Pokemon series. However, never in my life, not even playing an Xbox or PlayStation title, have I cared about frame rate. Never in my life have I been able to tell the difference. Like if I'm playing a game, I've never been like, oh, frame rate just dropped. And I truly don't think I will ever be the person that cares about that, or I will never be the person where that is a factor in me playing games or buying a system. Let me clarify this for the public, since you all care so much, I know. I bought the Nintendo Switch 2 to have fun. Shocker, I know. Shocker. But I bought the Nintendo Switch 2 to have fun. I did not buy it for the frame rate. I hate to break it to you, but I did not. I bought it so I could play. Truly, really, the only reason, since it's the only game I knew about when I pre ordered it, the only reason I bought it was for Metroid Prime 4. That's it. The new Mario Kart, sure, that's a nice deal, but I really bought it for Metroid Prime 4. And whatever 3D Mario, which happens to be a 3D Donkey Kong, which I need to say, I'm having a great time with. That's what I bought it for. I do not buy Nintendo games because of their frame rate, because they are technical marvels. I do not buy them because they have these hyper realistic graphics and it looks like I'm in the real world. It looks like I'm living in this. No. I buy Nintendo games because I can escape to a different, more pleasant, more compelling world. Whether that's Metroid or Animal Crossing or Pikmin, which I'm very excited. I need a new Pikmin game. That's one thing. I don't think they need to change their art style. I love their cartoony art style across all of their games. I do not think that every single game, and I hope that every single game does not look like hyper realistic, ultra modern graphics. I actually appreciate games that recently have been being designed in like old graphics and they are intentionally old looking. I think about Frogun. It's like this indie game with this girl that has a gun that's a frog. It looks like a Nintendo 64 game. Think about that. There's that Glover game that I don't think is good, but it also did the same thing. I buy these games because they are artistically forward. They have some sort of artistic design, some unique element. I buy them because they are designed really well. They have a nice polish. They are very smooth and easy to play. And I buy these games because they are perfect for the casual player. A 6-year-old could pick up the controller and know what to do and do really well and have a challenge. Or a 24-year-old or a 70-year-old could pick up the controller and know what to do, but still have a challenge. I really appreciate that Nintendo games are kind of like the same for everyone. I like these games. I like this system. I like this company, and I buy their games because I can rely on them that if I get home after a long day of work and I just need to put on a game, I can just pick it up and play it. I don't have to learn this extreme control system or skill tree or combos and all this stuff. These are games that I consistently can go to and know what to do, but they are still unique, fresh, of substance. They're designed really well. They have heart in them. I don't know. They're good. I'm not saying that Nintendo is a perfect company. They certainly are not. And if I'm being honest, I'm not thrilled by the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm not thrilled by Mario Kart World. I think that a lot of things could have been done better here, and I'm a little disappointed that they took so long and we have these issues that we have. But if you are complaining about frame rates for Nintendo games for Donkey Kong Bonanza, let's say, what were you going to Nintendo games for to begin with? Were you always going to them for frame rates? Because that doesn't seem right. That really does not seem right. So when people bring up frame rates, I honestly I do not care, but I also do not understand. They have never been that company where you pull up the frame rates and you're like, "Oh my gosh, it has this frame rate." When has that ever been the case? When have they ever been impressive in that field? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a streamer. I'm not a pro gamer. I've played video games my whole life, thanks to my dad. I've played every type of game, every console, every this, every that. It is how I grew up. I've played all sorts of games. I have never cared about frame rate. Frame rate has never affected how I play games or what games I play. That whole conversation is beyond me, and it annoys me that people use that to ruin the enjoyment of others. That is all I have to say. Let's take a break. You're invited to the Coffee House, a free members-only podcast from Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. On off weeks from the main show, join me in discussing themed collections of coffee and movie reviews. Currently, the Coffee House is brewing its first batch, Lynchian Picks, a 10-part series diving deep into the dreamlike world of David Lynch films and black coffee. Membership is free to the Coffee House, which includes all collection episodes. For only $3 a month, you can tip your barista and become a regular tier member, which will grant you access to special bonus episodes, like the Twin Peaks ones coming out next week, as well as having your name listed in ad breaks just like this one. Speaking of, a special thank you to our regular Reese Tunstall for tipping. If you would like to join, you can do so using the link in the episode notes. Brewing next week on the Coffee House is part 6 of Lynchian Picks, a discussion on David Lynch's Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. I will see you there. We are back from our break and ready for our movie discussion. This is Now Showing, our feature ideological analysis and critical film review segment by yours truly. After a failed marriage proposal and move out to the countryside, long-term couple Tim and Millie are confronted with the shortcomings and reality of their relationship. When they both fall and become stranded in a mysterious cave, they experience a sudden longing to be close to one another. Very, very close. Together is written and directed by Michael Shanks. It stars Dave Franco as Tim and Allison Brie as Millie. It will be released on July 30th, 2025. Okay, before I get into the spoilers and everything, I would like to bring something up that everyone can enjoy and listen to. So if you're worried about spoilers, don't worry. I will be very clear when that happens. Calm down. Calm down. I am tired. I have had enough of the horror comedy movie that markets itself as strictly or mostly horror. I have nothing against a horror comedy movie. In fact, I love a horror comedy movie. And I do think we need more of them. So it does feel strange to be upset or disappointed by the release of one. And I think that's because I feel deceived in a way. You know, the later trailers did let on that there would be some campy moments in this movie, but for the most part, I don't know, I was getting like more of a serious vibe with this. And it raises this question of, does a trailer have to be true to the tone of the movie? My opinion is yes. I think the trailer should give you a taste of what you're in for. It should give you a bit of everything. I'm not saying it has to reveal everything because I do love surprises. Like with Barbarian, that's a good example of me this not applying. For those of you who do not know, Barbarian is one of my favorite movies. It's in my Letterboxd top 4. I wrote a paper about it in college. I love talking about the movie and everything. So for those of you who don't know the movie, it is horror for the first act, and then like a horror comedy for the second and third. And it was marketed completely different, but I feel like there's a purpose behind that. I feel like it was intentionally just strictly scary in the first act. It was intentionally funny in the second and third. And the fact that it was funny had meaning in the movie, and how like the trauma of this girl was then being like kind of made into like a satire almost. So that's one way it's done really well, where I didn't know it was comedy going in and it worked out. But there have been movies like this one and Companion recently that market themselves in a particular way. And then when they come out, the movie is kind of like just Clown Town. And I don't know, like I would like to know that about the movie. If it's just kind of like, steady comedy the whole way through and it doesn't really mean anything, like it's just a horror comedy movie, not in like a derogatory way. I would like to know that. I would like to know that. So that's my one point. I've had enough of the horror comedy that markets itself like this. I would like more disclosure when it comes to these things. It doesn't have to be much. I would just like it kind of like salt and peppered throughout the trailer a little bit, which Together did do, but I was not expecting it to this extent. Okay, now, if you have not seen this movie and you are going to see it and you don't want it spoiled, now is the time to click off. But please come back. Please come back after you've seen it. So, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. I would like to start with the ending. Let's start at the ending, shall we? Because what the fuck was happening? I will get into my other thoughts about this movie, but the final shot is like, I don't even know how to feel about that. Like, what does this mean? What does this imply? It's just kind of, I don't know. Like, I didn't laugh, but I kind of was just like, I did smile, I guess. So at the very end, they give up trying to keep themselves apart and they merge together. And it's revealed in the movie that you can merge together so much with someone that you become a whole new person. And so they did. And this was only seen with one other couple in the movie, and it was a gay couple, 2 men. And yeah, so they just become another man. But when a man and a woman merge, are they gender fluid? Are they non-binary? I don't know. That's why I'm kind of curious about what a sequel would look like for this movie, like Together 2.0. Because I would like to know how this character lives in the world. What does it look like for them? And I'm assuming they go by they, them pronouns. But very interesting ending. I'm going to be honest, I kind of loved the ending. I kind of loved this. Just kind of very gaggy, very, I don't know, my jaw was like a little bit on the floor, kind of there, not all the way, but it was kind of there. It was funny. And as you all know on this show, as someone who has a history with the television program Steven Universe, I know all about Stevani. I know all about fusion. I know all about this. I've seen this before, and I couldn't help but think of that. So just a little thing I wanted to throw out there. Okay, putting the ending aside, I must note that from the very beginning up until this ending, this film does everything it can to tell its audience that it is horribly cliched. This movie, so much in it is so cliche that it is exhausting. It's not even like, oh, it's a horror movie. Of course, we're going to have this sort of setup. It is to an extent that is too far for me. An extent to which I kind of like tap out of some of the plot lines in this movie. And I tapped out and I feel like I didn't even miss anything because I've just seen this all play out so much before. You know, this is the story of a troubled city dwelling couple that moves to the countryside and thinks it will solve things, when in fact they are confronted with their own reality. I could name several movies in recent history that have done this: Wolfman, Speak No Evil, Companion. I'm not saying this is a bad trope. It makes sense, especially in the lens of a horror movie. It'd be really cool to see like a couple from the country move to the city and they're like, I don't know, pursuing their career in the city. And how does a horror movie look in that context? But, what I'm saying is this is so cliche and overdone. And for a film that is, an original property, I don't think this is a remake or an adaptation of anything. This is so stale. I will say I was caught by the opening act, or the cold open, showing the victims prior to our couple in this film. It was really good. This is, if you've seen the trailer, it's with the two dogs, and it's the dogs in the cave, and they merge, and all that stuff. And again, even though this opening was really cool, it was original, I guess. I don't know. I've seen The Thing that's has dogs merging together and all that. Alien dogs, whatever happened in that movie. But again, they make this into something so cliche that just makes this feel like an episode of like a TV show or something, because what happens in the opening scene, before the title card, it comes back later, and our couple, they learn about the missing couple and they do a Facebook search and they try to find them, and it leads them to their answers. And eventually they have to confront this couple that's merged and all this stuff. It is made into something really cliched. If you are listening to this, I'm sure this is all stuff you have heard before many, many times. This film was also littered with just a ton of stupid things. A lot of stupid moments. There is horror movie stupidity. And then there is this. I don't know. I guess this is just horror movie. It kind of like was just really awkward, embarrassing stuff that they tried to play off as comedy, or it was the writer's room really struggling and like forcing this story along. Okay. The first example I have is the engagement at the very beginning when Alison Brie's character tries proposing to Dave Franco's character. This was so awkward, and I just did not understand this. And I don't know why this was necessary. We did not need to see this to know that they were a couple that was not working out. There was, even before this, earlier in the film, there was when they both were matching outfits, and Alison Brie's character, what are their names? Millie was like, "Oh my gosh, we're matching." And Tim was like, "Oh, we are?" And he went and changed immediately. We can infer, we don't need things spelled out as clearly that this is a relationship that is not working. Also, the way that Alison Brie, the way her character proposed was so awkward, and it made me think of that character from Girls, the HBO show. I don't know anything, I've never seen that show, but I know that one gif of that lady, and she's just kind of like, ah. You know what I'm talking about? I feel like you all know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see. What character is that? For my Girls fans out there. I'm finishing Sex and the City, and then I'm going to watch that. Oh, Lena Dunham. Sorry, I'm not up to date on all my Lena Dunham stuff. I don't think I've seen anything with her in it, to be honest. I'm waiting. I have to work through other things. I'm sorry. But the character Hannah Horvath, there's that gif where she's like, ah. Alison Brie's character reminded me of that. It was just such an awkward character. I guess it was an awkward performance. There were so many moments in this movie where my skin just crawled, which I guess is effective. I guess is what they want to happen, because this relationship is just not working. And that takes me to, I'm just going to skip ahead to this one moment. in the film, the school scene. Did y'all see that? Did y'all see that? The school scene. This is into the second act, and basically they're already starting to experience, like, they're starting to attach to each other. I mean, I think at this point they're more so just like sticking together, and they like peel each other off like after they wake up, and they're experiencing like weird things. And Dave Franco's character has to go to like the city for this music thing, but he feels like so drawn to Millie for whatever reason, and he just has to be around her or he feels sick. And so he shows up at Millie's school. Millie is a teacher. And he's just like, Millie, I need you so bad right now. I'm just thirsty for you. And Millie, her whole thing in this movie is she hasn't had sex in forever. She is so horny. And do you know what they do? He goes up to her on the playground and says this. Do you know what they do? They go into the little boys' restroom and have sex in one of the stalls in the little boy's restroom loudly with moaning. There's clapping. You can hear clapping. There is no discretion at all. No discretion. There is no subtlety even. And they're doing it in the first place, like crazy. And of course, to make this worse, his wee-wee gets stuck in the hoo-ha. Stuck, glued. He can't get it out. It's like one of those finger traps. And the camera points down and you see the foreskin stuck inside. You can't make this up. You cannot make this stuff up. I'm sorry for my sensitive listeners. I had to watch this in the theater. You just have to listen to me describe it. So sorry if this is too much. I could not believe it, Mary. I could not believe what I was seeing on this screen. I guess this scene was effective at making me just overwhelmingly uncomfortable. And of course, once he rips it out, camera pans down again. There are 2 feet, child's feet, standing at the edge of the stall. And he runs away and gets the teacher. Teacher comes in, and then Millie walks out, blood coming down her legs. And she's just like, I don't know. What? I'm sorry. It was horrific. It was horrific. I watched The Substance, and nothing was as bad as that. Actually, that's not true. Maybe. I don't know. This was bad in other ways. Millie at this point is still of sound mind. It was really just Tim that was going crazy. Like I think it's the water they drank in the cave that caused this, because later Millie drinks from that water bottle that has the water, and I think she forgot. Whatever. But I think Millie is still sane at this point. So what makes this so bad is that Millie willingly did this. Of course, it has to be the woman's fault, right? Of course, it has to be the woman's fault. But a teacher willingly did this, had intercourse in the little boy's bathroom off of the playground. And drag queens are the groomers? Hello. This fictional couple doing all that, and drag queens are the groomers, you say? Yeah, you heard that right. I could not believe it. I will say, speaking of the second act, just overall, kind of putting aside that scene I just discussed, the second act is my favorite part, I think. It is pretty entertaining. I think it's really interesting the physical situation they're both going through, entangled with this emotional one. Millie really wants to have sex. Tim is dependent on her, but distant. I don't know. I think Millie really wants this physicality, while as Tim really wants this emotional interaction. So, of course, when these characters are getting stuck together and they start merging and they're like, even just like flying down the hallway, like at each other, or I don't know, levitating on a door. You saw the trailer. It just makes their emotional situation that was set up in the very beginning of the film interesting. And I like when the problem, I guess, manifests in a way that is whimsical, paranormal, otherworldly, whatever you want to call it. I get that's just horror films in general, but this movie did do that, so I can appreciate that. I've been talking about the cave a little bit. So the cave is where they are getting cursed, I guess. The cave is basically this place where this cult meets. This cult is obsessed with people merging, and it's that whole like Greek or Roman thing about the gods made man with 4 arms and 2 faces and blah blah blah, and they thought it was too powerful, so they split them up into 2 halves, and you spend your life searching for that other half. It's playing on that whole thing. And so this cult merges people together for perfect harmony in love, in relationships, and everything. That's a cool concept. I like that is tied in with like body horror. I think there's an original idea there. So this cult would meet in the cave. There's this like weird looking pool. It kind of looks like it's from Alien with this water in it. So of course, they get to the countryside, Millie and Tim, and they're like, we need to spice things up. We need to focus on us again. And they go out and it starts downpouring rain, and they fall into this cave, and they're down in the cave. They don't really show the two like looking for an exit or trying to get out. And immediately Tim is like, I'm thirsty. I'm going to have some of this water. And he's like, it looks fine to me. It's still water, just like sitting there, which I don't know. I've only seen a few episodes of Naked and Afraid, and I just know you do not do that. And I always, whenever in Naked and Afraid they drink the still water, I'm like, there's like microorganisms like floating in that. There's parasites and stuff. I don't know. It's like stagnant water. But he just like takes a big old slurp of it. And Millie is the smarter one, as you could. Is she smart? No. I mean, she did all that at her job. She says no, she doesn't want it. And then Tim wakes up. They spend the night in the cave. And I think they make a fire, which I'm also like, it was torrential downpour. Everything in there would be wet, moist. I don't know. I don't understand how they made a fire, but they did. They spent, I feel like it's like 2 nights in there. Maybe it was 1 or 2, which is just ridiculous to me, especially they were not trying to get out at all. And Tim wakes up and he's like seeing things, and he starts merging with the cave, which I didn't really understand that either. Not that everything had to be explained, but he was like merging with the floor of the cave, and then he would breathe in and out, and the cave would also breathe. And it was like the cave was this giant lung. And I don't think that was necessary. I think it could have just been like, I don't know, they merge, the couple merges. I don't think there needed to be like this mystical cave or anything. I don't know. It could have later. It is revealed that the friend that lives down the street that works at the same school as Millie is in the cult. Of course, this is the gay men, I guess, the 2 men who have merged. I don't know. I feel like he could have just like cursed them or slipped something in their drink or something like that, because it was quite obvious from the beginning that he was in this cult, because they fall in the cave and there's these bells everywhere. And then when Millie goes over to his house, she rings this like bell, and that's odd. So you think like, oh, why does he have a bell, like a dinner bell for a doorbell? It's like, oh, he's in the cult. Duh, duh. So I don't know if that was supposed to be a surprise, but it was not. Um, Again, everything in this movie, pretty much everything except the ending feels cliche. And even the ending, I'm not saying it was super original. Like I said, I've seen Steven Universe before, so everything is cliche. Uh, yeah, and they're in this cave, and they wake up, and they're like, "Okay, let's go," and they just climb out. Which I know it was like heavy raining, but they just climbed out of the cave, and they're like, "Ah, that was crazy." And they go back home, and they're fine, and they don't tell anyone they were like trapped in a cave for 2 days. You know, it's just kind of, I'm usually one who gives movies some grace. I know that there is a story that needs to happen. There's an idea that they need to reach. So I give it grace, like let them get to it. Kind of the whole Hobbit thing, like, oh, they could have just flown on the eagles. That wouldn't have been an entertaining story though. If they just flew on the eagles to the mountain or whatever. But this, it's like, why were we down there for so long, seeing so much, when this could have just been done a completely different way? And it probably would have been more entertaining and less stupid. And it wasn't even like any of this was played off for comedy or anything. Maybe it's funny how stupid it was. Um, yeah, they just get like they climb out of the cave and it's like, okay, well, I gotta go to work. you know? Like it's just weird. And they're not at all like shaken up about this. And that doesn't really play a part in like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with us. Why are we so like, why are we attaching to one another or seeing these visions or whatever? Weird cave, no problem, no nothing. It took Millie like a lot for her to realize something was wrong. Normal horror movie stuff though, whatever. The third act of this film is okay. I had a fine time. I don't think it was anything above average. I think I enjoyed the second act a lot more and kind of like experiencing the physical situation of this couple entangled with the emotional one. The third act is just kind of like step by step what you would expect to happen. I did like the body horror when Tim goes back to the cave to investigate more and he finds the missing couple. That was pretty freaky. Just kind of like lasted a moment, wasn't like super consequential or anything. And then he gets back and it's kind of like, oh, and Millie goes to the other teacher, his house. And I liked that sequence a lot. I am a sucker for found footage. There was a lot of that. She walked into the house and like the door was open and the TV was just on playing the character's wedding with his husband. And of course, it was like a really weird culty wedding. Those gay weddings, am I right? Am I right? So I liked that. I thought it was creepy. But again, just a moment. It didn't really have much weight. And then Millie and Tim go to each other, and it's like the final confrontation. I also liked this a bit. I thought it was a unique choice for them to be right for each other and to choose to stay with one another. I thought it was actually pretty nice ending. And they like accept this curse and they become one person. I think this could have been played out in a different way. And I actually think this is one of the few times in the film where the cliche way was not chosen. And, they accepted this fate and they decided to be together, even though their relationship is not perfect. Clearly, neither of them are perfect. I guess they're a good match. And they merge. I really liked this scene. There was some bad CGI in it, but yeah, freaky, I guess. And then we had our semi-iconic ending with Stevani opening the door for her parents who were in town visiting for lunch or something. Like I said, this was a semi-gag. It was a semi-gag. Yeah, that's kind of everything I have to say about this movie. The performances from both Dave Franco and Alison Brie were kind of disappointing. I think that both of them can do better than this. Again, I haven't really seen either of them in much, but I just think these characters were played in a really weird way. Again, maybe they were trying to play into like this comedy aspect, but Dave Franco sounded like Muscle Man from Regular Show, which I can't do an impression of. I just discovered, but I'll cut that part out. This was a weird movie. I feel like I just said a lot of things like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really liked this part actually. And then there were a lot of things where I was like, boo, boring, next. It was kind of just a mixed bag for me in every way. It was really cliche. There were some things there though. It's worth seeing. It is worth seeing. It's a fun little movie. Yeah, I think you guys know what I'm going to rate it. I haven't given this rating in so long, so I'm excited to say this, but I am going to give Together the Nick Mix. If you're looking for a fun popcorn movie with mild scares and cheap laughs, I recommend Together. Aside from that, this film can't seem to do anything to separate its unique ideas from overutilized and exhausting horror and cult movie tropes. Yeah, I forgot to point out the jump scares in this as well, but they were like the most overused type of jump scare, just horribly unoriginal. You know, camera would pan to something and there'd be kind of like that very loud screechy noise whenever it would try to scare you. It was just boo, boring, next. But yeah, like I said, this is a good popcorn movie. Go see it if you're like going with a friend or even a partner and you just want to have like a fun little movie and, you know, silly stupid. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, next week is a big week. It is Twin Peaks week on the Coffee House. So if you are not subscribed to the Coffee House, which is my Patreon channel, you should definitely do that. There is a link in the show notes. One more thing, also be sure to fill out the feedback form. It is in the show notes as well. This will be a huge, huge help to me if you're able to fill it out. So if you can, please do it. Everyone, thank you again for listening to Coffee Nick's Movie Picks. Before you go, be sure to follow at Coffee Nick's Movie Picks on Instagram and at Coffee Nick on Blue Sky. There you can stay up to date on everything about the show. Join the show's free Patreon page using the link in the show notes and listen as I discuss David Lynch films every other week. If you like what you heard, please rate the show on your podcast app of choice and share the show with your friends. A special thank you to Nathan Moore for creating the show's opening and closing themes. Until next time, be sure to lower your blinds all the way down.